What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now. Let's go to the Dolphins next. You touched on the Dolphins as, that team that was sort of the de facto second team in the division, but one that's, I feel like lost his grip, at least from a prediction side of things of what we think is going to happen this upcoming season. In the first round, the Miami Dolphins went defensive tackle Kenneth Grant. A lot of options there for them at number 13, but they ended up going with Grant there. Jonah Savanaia, the offensive lineman from Arizona, they traded up, I believe, to go get him. Fifth round, Jordan Phillips, Jason Marshall Jr., Dante Trader Jr. as well, so some secondary additions, and then staying along the defensive trenches too. Sixth round, they took a running back, Ollie Gordon, and then in the seventh round, quarterback Quinn Ewers and defensive tackle Zeke Biggers. What an interesting quarterback group they have now with Quinn Ewers, Tua Tagovailoa, and Zach Wilson. Our staff gave the Dolphins a B here. Dalton, what do you think about this grade?
I'm in between. I might go a little bit lower. I get what they're trying to do with Grant and obviously Jordan Phillips because they lost Calais Campbell, who was by far their best run defender up front. So you're trying to replace that with younger run defenders, and I think Grant and Phillips can fill that role for sure. So I think the run defense is going to be okay. We know Grant is a big dude who's an underrated athlete. Trading up for Savaiinaea is going to be the next most interesting one. And, I think we expect if they traded up to 37 to get him in the second round that they're hoping he's going to start at that left guard spot over Liam Eichenberg. And the funny part with Savaiinaea, I know he's got flexibility. He can probably do it. Played almost 1,000 snaps at right guard in his career at Arizona. Not a single one at left guard. He never played there before. So now you're asking a guy who you traded up for is going to be a lot of pressure, especially when it comes to protecting Tua. We know that's a premium on this team with all his injuries. Now you're asking him to play a position he's never played. Should it be that big of an adjustment? Probably not, because his footwork in pass protection plays up pretty much anywhere that he's played. So those are going to be the two key guys. I mean, the first two guys, the only two guys you got in the first four rounds of this draft, Grant and Savaiinaea. This team had to get better in the trenches. I think in theory they did with these couple of picks plus Jordan Phillips. Where I'm worried now is just his secondary. And maybe it's a situation just like Jair Alexander in Green Bay where they're starting to maybe trying to patch things up and Jalen Ramsey's going to stay. But even then, they were in the bottom 7 in coverage grade last year, even with Jalen Ramsey, with Javon Holland, with Kendall Fuller, and they didn't add a whole lot. Jason Marshall's a good athlete who, I think just made a lot of mental errors. That was kind of a theme with your Gators secondary down there the last couple of years. Dante Trader's a good athlete. I don't know that he's an impact player beyond special teams right now. So this secondary is where I worry the most. Look, if Savaiinaea can come in and be a starting left guard, then cool. If Grant can make an impact in run defense, cool. It's a decent draft. That's just a part of this team, the back 7 of their defense and coverage that I would really worry about.
Yeah, I will shout this out because you were saying that Jonah has not played on the left side of things. James Daniels, who they signed at free agency, has. He played left guard for the first 3 years of his college career or his NFL career when he was with the Chicago Bears and had some of his better years when he was at left guard actually at that spot. So in theory, they could be just playing James Daniels at left guard, and they can allow Jonah to stay on the right side of the line of scrimmage. So I just wanted to shout that out there. But, I look at this draft, and it's hard to be over the moon with this draft because I think that there are things that the Miami Dolphins did well, but there are still major holes on their roster. Specifically, if they trade Jalen Ramsey, it's going to look pretty ugly in that secondary. Now, the thing that I would say is that this roster already wasn't very alluring going into the draft, and we knew that they were not going to be able to fill all those holes with impact players from this draft class. And so even though when I still look at the Dolphins roster, I go, yeah, okay, it's better. And I want to sort of take that out on the draft grade because I wish they would have done more. I kind of like how they prioritize it, right? Defensive line, because they absolutely needed to get a lot better up front. Jordan Phillips and Kenneth Grant, no question about it, make you better along the defensive line. And fill in one of their major holes that they have in the interior offensive line with Big Jonah playing either left guard or right guard. So, to me, it's hard for me to give it less of a B. I'm not as enthusiastic but I think that's more of I'm a little bit apathetic about just what I think of the Miami Dolphins overall. I just don't have a lot of faith that they're going to be anything better than even the good version of Miami that we have seen in the past, and even that I think is probably best case scenario. I don't think that this team is in a situation where they're going to overperform what they have been in the past, overperform expectations in a large way, and be a wild card team that's actually going to make a lot of noise and get past the first round and make a deep playoff run. Like I just don't see that from this team. So it is still a solid draft, though. I don't want to be too overly negative just because I've been disappointed about how that roster has been depleted over the years. I don't want to take that out on their draft class, which honestly I feel like was a good one, given the fact that they had major trench needs. They emphasize both of those things, and they'll attack skill position players, I think, over the next year or two.
No, yeah, I mean, and actually, that's a good call you made there on Daniels. So maybe Jonah does stay on the right side, and that either way, and Daniels still coming off a torn Achilles, they just have to get better in pass protection, and Jonah should be able to help them with that. And I think he fits this system better than it would be if he went to a power, a gap scheme sort of system. So I think that is a good call out. Maybe he starts on the right side and Daniels on the left. But you're right, this is a team that had to get better in the trenches, and that's the priority they went with.
Any thoughts on either Quinn Ewers or Ollie Gordon? I think if you would have said to any college football fan that one team was going to get Ollie Gordon and Quinn Ewers in the 6th and 7th rounds of the NFL draft, if you would have said that to them 2 years ago, they would have said that you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, and quite frankly, you don't know ball. But that's exactly what happened here after 2 seasons that were lower than the expectations that we had for both of those guys. Quinn's interesting. I think that he's basically the Zach Wilson bet that you made, except for he's going to be there for a much longer period of time because he's under the rookie contract. And then, to be honest, like, I don't know if I hate Ollie Gordon in this wide zone rushing scheme, because at least it allows him to not have to stop and start and accelerate, where I felt like he really lacked the agility that was needed to force missed tackles in between the offensive tackles, in between the trenches, in more of a power run blocking concept. And at least I think that if you get his momentum going one direction and all you require from him is just one cut and get up the field, maybe he could just sort of be a momentum back. So that's my thoughts on it. I actually don't hate the landing spot for Ollie Gordon, even though that I figured that he'd probably be somewhere around a mid-day 3 pick.
Well, I think the problem is if you watch the 2023 tape, it fits perfectly. But I'm pretty sure also that year he was listed at about 210 or 211, somewhere in there, and he looked like he was blazing fast when he got in the open field. Now he comes in measuring 226 and ran a 4.61 40. It's actually funny because that's not usually the type of back that Miami's drafting, right? They're always pretty much at running back, drafting 40-time Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, obviously 2 of the fastest backs in their class. Ollie Gordon, at least in his current state, is the opposite. So I wonder if they try to take that weight back off of him and try to get that speed back that he had in 2023. And then I think Ewers, if there was a place where he could develop as the third quarterback behind Tua and Wilson and really fit in a system, it's here. Because just like Texas, heavy RPO, heavy play action, throwing to your first read a lot. I think it is something he could get comfortable with under Mike McDaniel. The bootleg game also something that was pretty prevalent in Texas that he's comfortable with. So I think it's a system he would be comfortable with. He can sit back as the third guy. If he plays well enough, maybe he can fight Zach Wilson for that backup job. But you have him around. You obviously get him on the 4-year contract that comes with a draft pick and see where that goes. It is a system that fits him reasonably well, and they felt the need, take the chance on the 7th rounder and see if you can develop him.